Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome. My name is Hassnae Bouazza and I'll be moderating this evening with two most interesting guests. Remco Breuker, professor specialized in Korea. You all probably know him from television, radio, and his articles and books. And a former government official and poet, Jang Jin-sung. I would like to just introduce Remco without much further ado. Remco Breuker, please give him a very warm welcome. And we will be doing this talk in English because there are some international guests and we're very happy to have them here. Remco, welcome. Such a pleasure to meet here. Yeah, and likewise. So like I said, people know you from television, from your articles in the paper, from your very interesting stance on the situation in Korea, North Korea, South Korea. And we will be talking about the mental dictatorship and what it's like to live in a mental dictatorship. But before we talk about that, I think it would be good to understand a little bit what North Korea is like. And you've written a book to higher praise, and high critical praise, and you distinguish between 4 types of North Korea. Yeah. Maybe it's good if you introduce Korea in your way, along, you know.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I have to admit that I stole 3 of those North Koreas from Jang Jin-sung.
Okay.
Because the first time I met him, he told me about this, that how it struck him, and I completely concur to the extent that I can, that there was the North Korea that he grew up in, his daily reality, the daily reality of average North Koreans. There's that North Korea. Mm-hmm. Then there's the North Korea, the North Korean government tells you that there is or should be the North Korean propaganda, which is really quite different from daily life. Mm-hmm. So he was used to those. Mm-hmm. Then he arrived in South Korea. After he left or escaped North Korea, he realized there was a third North Korea, the North Korea that people like me construct, which really seemed to have no connection whatsoever to either his reality or that's, well, to a certain extent to the propaganda in North Korea, but not to his own reality. A really different kind of North Korea, about which people could basically say anything because who would correct them? Yeah. And also not hampered by not knowing Korean, which I still find mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All those experts who know everything about Korea except the language. Yeah.
Well, it's possible to tell me. So
okay.
Who am I to disagree?
Yeah.
And I realized while I was researching, because I also have a handicap as a North Korea expert, although really I used to work on South Korea, really, and on historical Korea, and came to work on North Korea. I've never been to North Korea. And I'm not going to go either.
Why not?
Well, first of all, there's I guess the egotistical consideration there. I will probably have to stay there if I go.
You will never leave again.
No,
yeah.
Given the very serious complaints North Korea made, very formal complaints, capital crimes nonetheless. No, I think I'll stay here. Yeah. I'll go to Seoul instead.
Well, we'd rather have you stay here as well.
Thank you. That's, no, but the other reason is really methodological, because you can't really do field work in North Korea. You can't visit the archives because you're not allowed to. You can't go to a library. You can't talk to people in freedom. It's impossible to do research without either endangering yourself, although as a foreigner usually you're okay, but you would endanger the people you are interviewing. Yeah. And what are they going to tell you, really? Yeah. The thing is, once those people are outside of the country, everything, the entire picture changes. You can talk to them. And to the extent that I've met North Koreans, and I don't want to generalize too much, but I don't find them the most reticent people in the world. They're very happy to talk about North Korea. And if you go to communities where there are plenty of North Koreans, I think that's the 4th North Korea I would distinguish. And there are several of those, the kind of virtual North Korea, in which things also, and this is another consideration, things that North Koreans knew inside of the country but was compartmentalized knowledge, because you can't talk about it or because you can't travel freely. Outside of the country, they would put the pieces together and come to a different understanding about their own country, which inside the country is just only possible maybe for the highest level, but not for other people. So put all those reasons together, and I think there's a 4th North Korea, one that I visit frequently and happily, and that's wherever there are North Korean exiles in some number.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that it was Jang Jin-sung that made you aware of this fourth Korea, or that you were doing. Yeah, the first three. Yeah. So what were you doing wrong initially when you started working and you were working on South Korea? Yeah. What made you? Yeah. What did you realize that maybe you should change the way that you do your research?
Well, many things, but I think the most important thing is that I fell for something all my colleagues fall for, I think, and most of us don't get up after having fallen. Wanting to believe the best. Yeah. Basically, being, and this, I mean, for those who've seen me on Dutch television, people are going to not believe that I'm saying this, but actually I'm an optimist. Mm-hmm. I'm not much, also with regard to North Korea, I thought that if we would approach it on its own terms, it would respond. Yeah. And we just hadn't been able to find the right way to approach North Korea. Mm-hmm. Little did I know that generation after generation of scholars had done exactly the same to, well, you know where we are now. It didn't really help. No. And the other thing I think I missed, and I still feel guilty about that, is almost automatically I took as my, well, kind of partner or counterpart the North Korean state, the North Korean regime. And there's no reason whatsoever to do that. In South Korea, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. In South Korea, my counterparts are either my colleagues or my friends or not necessarily the state unless it's some kind of formal occasion. Yeah. In North Korea, however, it's the state you talk to. Yeah. And I realized, and this is after talking to people like Jang Jin-sung, that's exactly the wrong person, or the wrong, not the person, but the wrong, those are the wrong people to talk to. You need to engage with the average North Korean to the extent that is possible. Yeah. So I think if I did something wrong, I did many things wrong, but that would be the sin that may well land me in hell one day, I don't know.
Oh, you're being very crude about your own position.
No, but the thing is, this is not just about having misunderstood, because that's not a sin. You misunderstand something, fine, no problem. Yeah. I'm a scholar, I misunderstand things all day, and then try to work to a better understanding. Yeah. The thing is, this is about people and whose suffering in 2014 was, at that moment, according to the UN, without parallel in the world. Yeah. Which is saying something, because even at that time, things weren't exactly hunky-dory in Syria, for example, or in other places. And that's by playing into this narrative, basically you strengthen a regime that doesn't really care what happens to its people. Yeah,
and I think we're in the midst of strengthening and legitimizing the regime, right?
Oh no, currently. No, we didn't know. This is the party for the regime. They're doing great, and everybody's congratulating them. Yeah. Nobody's inquiring after human rights at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because I definitely want to talk, delve deeper into that. Now. People do say that North Korea is the most closed country. Yeah. People do not have any access to internet, no foreign media. Yeah. So how does that work? So how do people flee? I will be talking about how to flee a country like North Korea. But how do you find the North Koreans in South Korea? Yeah. How did they develop themselves? How did they educate themselves? Yeah. How does that work?
It's really different for everybody, I guess, depending on circumstances. There is a lack of outside information in North Korea. At the same time, I think South Korean soap operas are watched to an incredible extent in North Korea.
In the Middle East as well.
Yeah, no, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere, yeah.
No, but even in North Korea. So there is outside knowledge, but not much.
Yeah.
And the way you develop, well, you develop into, or at least you're supposed to develop into a loyal citizen, upholder of what's called the monolithic leadership culture, cultus, I should say, perhaps. Yeah. People being people, and practice being slightly more, I'm not sure what the right word here, but slightly more difficult in theory. Of course, many people don't. Things happen that make you realize that maybe things aren't as good as the government tells you that they are. So it's really hard to say. In Jang's case, and he'll have to talk about it, I won't, but it's again really quite special. I mean, he's the only one I know who followed that particular trajectory. So it's difficult, but what you do see, I think, amongst the people I met, it will leave you traumatized.
Yeah.
Also because if you leave the country, which may, and I always used to assume that it's because of political reasons, that's why you flee, because of the unfreedom. Usually it isn't. Maybe it is for the high-ranking North Koreans. When they decide to leave, it's probably because if they don't, they get persecuted and they die and their families with them.
Yeah.
But for the average North Korean, often they don't realize they are fleeing the country. They go to China to do something, to trade things, buy things, sell them in Korea, and they find themselves in a situation where they can't re-enter the country. Then what you do? You just become a refugee.
But
So
what? Yeah. But how does it? Why do they are they not able to re-enter the country?
It's different for everybody.
Okay.
You have to bribe somebody to leave the country.
Ah.
Now, what happens if the guy you bribed on your way out and you
Isn't
make
there.
an appointment isn't there?
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, he isn't there. And you don't have money enough to bribe the new one.
Yeah.
Or you get swindled out of your money, and you don't have money to go back. Or you can go back, but you don't have money, you don't have goods. So what are you going to tell to your investors in North Korea, the people who helps you raise the money?
Yeah.
What happens if you go to China, you buy the things you need, and one of the North Korean brigades, or search parties really, who are active in China with the knowledge of the Chinese government, they see you talking to somebody who they think is a South Korean, which immediately turns your economic, not even a crime, but misdemeanor, into a political crime, which carries a very different kind of penalty.
Yeah.
But there are many reasons why some people who don't want to flee become refugees.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are many people who do want to flee. They really escape the country, and especially young women, and usually 70 to 90% ends up in the sex trade, which is a horrendously underreported phenomenon.
Yeah.
They get sold to Chinese husbands, usually farmers who can't get a wife otherwise. They end up in prostitution, or they make porn movies under duress. It's an extremely sad situation.
Yeah, it is. But it is people don't know, people don't talk about it. You do a lot of research, field work as well, into forced labor.
Yeah.
I think that's also the reason why the North Korean government hates you.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's probably... Well, there's two things.
Yeah.
We invited Jang Jin-sung to Leiden to become a professor of Korean studies for 1 year, North Korean studies.
Okay.
That didn't go down well.
No.
And then after the forced labor, it just game over. Yeah.
Yeah, because talking about the forced labor means that you're impacting their economic revenues.
That's it.
Yeah. And you said that talking with North Koreans who fled North Korea, that it's traumatizing and that they have been traumatized. And you talked about stuff that goes on in North Korea that you cannot even imagine. Yeah. Can you give a few examples just to illustrate what the situation is like for ordinary people in North Korea?
I'm preparing a new research project on the... I think you should call them annihilation camps, not just concentration camps, because the idea is once you're in, you're suspected of a political crime, you never come out. Not even your body leaves when you're dead. So even the bodies stay there. I'm working my way through different catalogs of people who were sent there. And reasons, well, one reason was somebody who was going home, and there was a fight on the way home. People, I know, two drunk people fighting, happens everywhere. He tried to break it up. While doing so, he stepped on a portrait of the leader, which is was seen,
blasphemy. Yeah,
as a capital crime. He was sent to a prison camp. His family went with him. During the Great Famine, there was another person, same category, who apparently could sell the glass in one of the portraits that hang in his house of Kim Il-sung. So he took out the glass and sold it for, I don't know, probably for an egg or an apple, not very much probably. Then realized that this didn't look good, so he burned the picture. He was seen doing this. And the same happened to him and his family. Nothing was ever known, heard of them again. And in general, if you look, half of the people, I think, in that list, or maybe a third, since for crimes unknown, that's their crime. And half of the people in general, I think, guilt by association. Yeah. So it's a very unstable affair living there, I guess, in general. If things go wrong, they have the potential not to go wrong for you, but also for your family.
Yeah.
And that's something which is, especially if you're used to living in a nice country with all its warts and everything as the Netherlands, that's something which is really hard to either imagine or stomach.
Yeah. So, but how did you get your hands on these catalogs with the names of the people?
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I've been told because I tweeted about it. Because there was this, I don't know, what was the occasion? There was something really good about North Korea, I was told. Things were hunky-dory. The Volkskrant had a front page,
last week.
Yeah. So North Koreans can enjoy themselves once again in Pyongyang. Of course, that's why they're in Pyongyang. They're the elite, but the rest of the country is problematic. So I thought, you know what? I can't give a face to the people who suffer, but I do have their names and sometimes date of birth and what they apparently did wrong according to the regime. So I started tweeting it. And some of the reactions I got were like, no, we don't know this. You can't know this. And I was like, why can't I know this? Because we don't have those catalogs. I was looking at it like, no, there it is.
Yeah.
The problem being that this catalog was partly put together by looking at historical sources. So some really famous, well-known North Koreans who were purged are in that catalog. But most of it was taken from testimony by refugees. And that's the one thing that we still, as a field, haven't accepted to take seriously. Yeah. Refugee testimony. And that's, which is as reliable as anything else, I guess. I mean,
yeah. But why don't they take it seriously? Do they think that the refugees will say anything just to, Yeah,
that's what refugees do.
Yeah.
The thing I get told all the time is, they betrayed their country once already. What's stopping them betraying you? Yeah. Of course, they'll say anything as long as you pay them. Yeah. I never paid anybody whom I interviewed. The only thing we did do was people who had to take a day off from work in South Korea, we would reimburse them for that day off. And then, interestingly, in the forced labor research, we interviewed a number of people who had been in that position. Yeah. And their interviews, and they didn't know each other, matched, structurally speaking. And not all the details, because different countries, you couldn't really verify it, but they made sense, and strictly speaking, they were really quite similar. But that's, to a certain extent, a subjective, I guess, judgment. We did much of our research really by delving into chambers of commerce, local archives, things like that, in the European Union, immigration departments. Yeah. And to my surprise, we've been able to verify about 95% of what these people told us, positively. Yeah. A number of things we couldn't verify, a number of things, dates were wrong, but 95%, if you ask me what I did yesterday, and I'm going to give you testimony, if I achieve 95% reliability, I'll be happy. Yeah. So it's really, I've never had the experience of being, I think, purposely deceived by refugees. And even if they do, come on, I'm a scholar, I'm an academic, I'm a historian. I'm used to working with sources that are biased. That's what we do. Yeah. And what you do is you compare and you filter out the bias, you use your common sense. Yeah. There's no reason not to presuppose, or not to suppose that refugee testimony is any less reliable than anything else. Should you believe everything at face value? I don't know, it depends on the circumstances. In general, I don't. Even if my gut says you can trust it, still you want to verify, and I do. Yeah. And as a result, I found that refugees, well, let's put it like this, I found them much more reliable than some of my more politically motivated colleagues. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the long and the short of it. Yeah.
Are your colleagues happy with you?
Well, it really depends on whom you ask, I think. One of my closest colleagues completely disagrees with everything I say. Yeah. I completely disagree with everything he says and does. He goes to Pyongyang to do field research. I maintain that really it isn't possible. But we get along fine. Okay. Although we really don't agree. Yeah. And we get into these discussions all the time. But that's the kind of, I guess, scholarly disagreement you need even in the same department. I never have to watch my back. I mean, he's completely trustworthy. Yeah. And I hope he feels the same about me. I don't know what he's saying about me at this moment, but no. But that is the exception, I'm afraid. Yeah,
but so he goes to Pyongyang, and you do your research here and in South Korea. You've done extensive research in the forced labor. So what does he say? You're wrong about the forced labor. There are no forced.
No, he doesn't know. Actually, that is a common response. that I misunderstand forced labor, misrepresent it.
Okay.
Well, read the research. That's usually the only thing I say, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
I think I know for certain we've established that this is not only forced labor, but also human trafficking and modern slavery.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't deny it. He just, he said, well, it's one part of North Korea. There are other sides to North Korea, and I'd like to focus on those sides because focusing on those sides is more constructive.
Yeah.
I don't deny what's going on. I know there are concentration camps, but focusing on the camps means just angering the North Koreans, and we don't want to do that. We want to talk to them. Basically, I can hear myself talking 6 years back, so I should not be too harsh on him probably. But now I think, well, let's by all means anger the North Koreans. So what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And
what are they going to do?
I don't know. Let's ask them.
Yeah.
But they never come, so that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think, and the problem is, and this is something you hear also on the highest political level. Let's not anger the North Koreans. They'll walk away, and we won't be able to talk about unification. The thing is, if they walk away when they hear something they don't like, they're not ready for any kind of unification at all.
Yeah.
If you can't talk about what's happening in the concentration camps, if you think it's okay to take 14-year-old, pretty, young, talented girls away from their parents and raise them to be basically harem slaves, because that's what it looks like, forced, well, sexual slavery.
Yeah.
If you think that's okay, I'm not sure where we're going to end up.
Yeah, but it is weird, right? If we have sexual slavery here, if we have forced labor, which is slavery as well,
Yeah. No,
I don't think we would take people seriously who say, but there's another side to Holland. We have nice tulips and stuff.
Yeah.
They would be angered. The human rights would be an essential thing.
Yeah.
So why is it that human rights are not that much of a priority when it comes to North Korea?
Well, there are two things. I think from our side, human rights are just not sexy.
Yeah,
And,
not anymore.
Once my research focused into human rights, I noticed there was a noticeable, I think, drop in attention. I was getting.
Really? Yeah.
That's one thing. It's not sexy. It doesn't make you money. I mean, human rights are perceived as in between me and making money as a government, as a state, which may be the case, but they're also the thing that keeps us sitting here listening to something you may or may not agree with.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely central to our way of life, I would say, in many parts of the world.
Yeah.
In North Korea, the thing is, and I guess in the end, why my opinion on North Korea really changed, is this: the insight, the understanding that human rights infringements, which I knew before that had been happening in North Korea, were not excesses. They were not excessive to what was happening. They were actually structural to what's happening. North Korea, this regime needs human rights abuses in order to stay on top.
Yeah.
The moment it gives a bit more freedom, the moment it stops pressing people or threatening people with torture and sending them to the concentration camps, the moment it releases North Koreans of the fear that something really horrible will happen to them and their family, it's the moment this regime will have collapsed.
Yeah.
And that's just the problem, because I used to think in a situation, I can imagine a situation, the Korean War, for example, the most horrible things happened during the Korean War. People did extremely horrible things, like killing a son in front of his mother, then taking out the liver, cooking it, forcing her to eat it on pain of having all her other children executed before her eyes. That's the kind of thing. I mean, it's not for nothing the most bloody conflict apparently of the 20th century.
Yeah.
If you measure it per liters of blood per square meter. Anyway. No matter how horrible that is an excess. There's nothing that structurally demands these things to happen. You know it's going to happen because it's war.
Yeah.
But war is a special situation. There is extreme stress, there is extreme duress, there is suffering, which is all conducive to human rights infringements.
Yeah.
You can imagine that if you don't try to get vengeance, if you don't try to seek responsibility, accountability for what's happened, you can actually reach a solution. And there are plenty of countries in which this has more or less worked, to the extent that anything will ever work in addressing those kinds of horrible things. But in North Korea, that's the problem. It's structural. It needs to be there in order to maintain the status quo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it sounds like some countries use religion to keep people in check, and North Korea uses fear.
Fear combined with the monolithic leadership cult. Yeah, it's a horrible word.
Yeah.
Fear with the fact that the notion of being loyal to the supreme leader is the supreme value.
Yeah.
Everything is measured against that.
Yeah.
Those two put together, a very strong system which basically functions like a religion, with its own writings, its own prayer halls, its own study halls where you study the words of Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung. It's just like old-fashioned Bible study here in the Netherlands. Bible.
Yeah.
With its own, with everything, even saints or gods, I guess, the Kims, who are alive, yet they are dead, because you see their dead bodies in the palace. At the same time, read any North Korean publication and you'll see that they're alive and they're with us, which is a very religious thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Which only makes sense if you believe in it. It's an act of faith in order to accept that. So those two together make it so difficult to get away from oppression in North Korea.
And what can you tell us about the supreme leader? Because you mentioned him, and he succeeded his father. There were all sorts of wild stories when he came into power. What do we know about him?
Not very much.
No?
No, we don't even know when he was born. We don't even know how many children he has. Well, thanks to Dennis Rodman, we know he has at least one daughter. And he may have 2 or 3 children. We don't really know for sure. The thing is, it doesn't matter.
No.
Because it's, and that's the thing, I think you're probably driving at that, but it's the innate Orientalism that is part and parcel of the Dutch heritage, not just Dutch, it's a European, also American thing. That when we look at North Korea, we see one person, Fu Manchu, who managed to rule the entire country, evil genius by himself.
Yeah.
Nobody rules a country by himself, ever. No. You need people around you, there's a system. And that's the one thing I try to do in my book, is try to bring to map that system, to show how things worked. And that's the interesting thing is the first thing before I'd met Jang Jin-sung, I'd read his articles in his newspaper he had. And the first time I read it, I didn't understand it because the Korean was alien to me. It was a different kind of logic. I understood all the words, and the grammar was okay, and still I didn't understand what it was saying. So, there was enough in there for me to force myself to read it again. Being naturally a lazy person, I didn't really want to do it, but I thought, well, maybe there's something in it. I read it again, and suddenly, slowly, when I read other things, it dawned on me that this is a really completely new approach towards North Korea. Much more systematic approach, a logical approach. And all of a sudden, a country, and I never bought the whole thing about North Korea being irrational, illogical. I find them pretty rational. They know what they're doing. But I hadn't seen the big picture behind it. No. And it took people like Jang to make me see that, and that there's a logic. And you really need, and that is why I'm really happy to be here, because I'm not alone explaining North Korea, because that's always what happens. It's always white guys, preferably bearded, professors at good universities who will tell you what the world is like, and preferably in North Korea. There are North Koreans who can do a much better job than I can. And that's, I think, also methodologically, I couldn't have written my book either without Jang or without other people I relied on, North Koreans. But in general, I think it would do as well, also to understand what's going on between North and South Korea now. To understand Trump's perhaps unrequited love affair with Kim Jong-un. If you look at it through the eyes of North Koreans who actually lived in the country, who breathe the system, who immediately know when something is off, it makes so much more sense. Everything makes so much more sense.
I figure. But I want to talk about Trump, but first let's talk about the system. You said there's a whole system, it's not just a leader. So what kind of system have you found? How does it work? I mean, he has a whole, bunch of trustees surrounding him.
No, basically, to a certain extent, his father's old friends are still there. His father is the person who built this kind of North Korea, in which he sat at the center of North Korean power. Inside a bureaucratic department he had built to his own liking, more or less coincidentally, because he was appointed to work there by his own father.
Yeah.
He was never meant to succeed him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the place where basically everything gets decided. And once that's clear, it does several things. It looks all decisions, all laws, all policy, real policy decisions have to pass through there, for example.
Mm-hmm.
All appointments, high civil and military appointments, need sanction from this department.
Mm-hmm.
All songs, I don't know, films, movies, TV series, books, need a sanction, also at the highest level. The reason for sanctioning or not sanctioning, or the criterion that is used, is the loyalty towards the leader, the great leader. Yeah. And that's how the system in the end was built up. On the one hand, if you look at North Korea, and many people have been to Soviet Russia, or have been to Romania or Poland or similar countries, they will see almost like a carbon copy. Even visually it looks like that, right? If you see a North Korean poster, it might as well have been a Soviet Russian poster if you change the faces and change the script. And to a certain extent, this kind of structure is still there, but there's a, I'm not sure whether you should call it a shadow bureaucracy, because that sounds too conspiracy theory-like. But there is an institution which functions basically like the Inquisition in the 16th or 15th or 14th century. So the people who make sure that you and me, that we behave and we stick on the right path. Yeah. And that's how the notion of the supreme leader is kept intact. The thing is, we believe this propaganda, which makes us as brainwashed as North Koreans, I guess. Because we also seem to think that Kim Jong-un is the guy who decides everything. Yeah. In reality, it's the people, it's his advisors, it's people also with a stake in maintaining the status quo. It's the other noble families, I guess, that he can't just do away with. These days I try to explain to my students by referring to Game of Thrones. You know, there's a king in Westeros, there's a king in King's Landing, or queen, and he or she is powerful. Yeah. And if that queen tells you, you're going to burn, you're going to burn. Yeah. But there are the Lancasters, and all the other big families there. Yeah. So in a sense, and I found this interesting, but I'm not sure whether this is confirmation bias by myself, because I'm a medieval scholar, really. I wrote my PhD on medieval Korean history. Yeah. And there's much more, strictly speaking, there's real similarity between how these states, aristocratic states, with a ruler who is powerful, but who is not the kind of absolute monarch you'd think a North Korean leader is, how those states are run, and how medieval states on the Korean Peninsula were run. Yeah. Now, I don't think there's any historical continuity, and probably it's a lot of coincidence, but to me it was very instructive. Yeah. That's the dimension we're usually missing, because we are just too fascinated by Kim Jong-un. Yeah. And you're one of the lone voices warning for that fascination, and also warning for the optimism, and warning against Trump's love for Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Because you got a lot of criticism for that. Well, I mute everybody on Twitter, so I don't notice. Excellent. I do that too. No, I know. Actually, I do get a lot of criticism for that. Yeah. Which is true. Fine. I'm always up for debate. Yeah. I think it's unconscionable as a former human rights lawyer, which this South Korean president is, and whom I liked before he became president, to exclude a former North Korean journalist from a press conference with South and North Korean ministers on account of him being a former North Korean. Yeah. The North Koreans might take issue. I also object to the fact that people I know are afraid to speak up in South Korea against what's going on. Yeah. And they may be wrong, but it really doesn't matter whether you're wrong or not. You have to be able to speak your mind in a democracy. Yeah. And that's the thing I find terribly disappointing about South Korea at the moment. But this is one of the very few examples in the world of a country that managed to democratize itself. Yeah. The people who suffered for freedom of speech in South Korea and democracy, there have been many of them. And many of them died and suffered and were traumatized for life. In the end, South Korea became a democracy late 80s, early 90s. So to see the freedom of speech actually being, diminishing is something it scares me.
Yeah.
And I don't like it because I really like South Korea.
Yeah. And it could go the wrong way.
It could go the wrong way. If you want to play with North Korea, you play by North Korea's rules.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The thing about this, there's this system with this untouchable leader in the middle, and that's the only thing that keeps the system running.
Yeah.
If you touch that, the whole system goes, and North Korea knows this.
Yeah.
So the only way to keep this contained, the only way to keep this running is to keep it contained,
Yeah.
which means there is a natural and there's an immediate limit to how much interaction is possible with South Korea.
Yeah.
So the trains that now will start running from South Korea to North Korea, I'm sure they won't, as a North Korean, you won't be able to board that train. And I think in the end, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The focus on the presidents is, to a certain extent, is logical, but we kind of miss the entire North Korean people there.
Yeah.
We leave them out of the picture, and I think that's something I'd like to see that different.
Yeah.
And if that means that people criticize me, fine. By now, I think my skin is elephant-like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, take your best shot. But
Yeah.
It is the thing I don't like about it is frightening, because
Yeah.
I think about 80% of my colleagues does disagree,
Yeah.
which is also scary because it may mean that I'm just completely wrong, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I will invite Jang Jin-sung, but just one last question before we introduce him. Is it at all possible that at one point North Koreans will gather courage and go to the streets like in Tunisia, for instance, in 2010, 2011? Or are they too...
I don't think you actually can do that. No, it's first of all, you have to organize it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to do that. With the system that is in place in which everybody... We were just we were talking to Jang during the interview, newspaper interview, and he said the first time he was in North Korea and he was at his place of work, he thought people were avoiding him because he didn't have meetings. Well, in North Korea, you have meetings all the time.
Yeah.
And in those meetings, some of those meetings are just meant to make sure that everybody does the right thing, and you acknowledge what you did wrong, self-criticism, mutual criticism. So nothing stays hidden, really. Well, not nothing, but not much. If you want to organize something, an uprising like in Tunis or in other countries, you need to be able to organize it, and you need to be able to not give it away to the authorities at an early stage.
Yeah.
Is that possible now in North Korea? Unless things are dramatically changing and people are not showing up to those meetings, and in the absence of internet, that's difficult.
Yeah, because you need the internet.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very clear. But we will be talking some more, but I would like to invite Jang Jin-sung to please join us. Please give him a very warm welcome. Okay, I'm going to do something. I don't want any giggles. I'm going to do something. 네덜란드에 오신 것을 환영합니다. So that's a talent that I just discovered. Welcome. Remco is so kind to be translating for us. So we've been talking about North Korea and about South Korea and about life in North Korea and the recent political developments.
예, 지금까지 북한도 남한도 요즘 현황 관계에 대해서 얘기하고 있었는데요. 특히 북한의 감동 독재 밑에서 삶에 대해서 지금 얘기 나눴어요.
Yeah, and now you were a government official in North Korea, and you were a poet, and you were a very loved poet. And I would very much like for you to read two of your poems for us, so that the audience gets to know your work and as an introduction to you.
인터뷰 본격적으로 시작하기 전에는 시들어서 북한에도 인정을 많이 받으셨는데 일단 시 두 편을 좀 낭독해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
알겠어. 무슨 시부터 하는 거죠?
네타르
하면 되는 거죠. 내 딸을 100원에 팝니다. 그는 처처했다. 내 딸을 100원에 팝니다. 그 종이를 목에 건 채 어린 딸 옆에 세운 채 시장에 서 있던 그 여인은 그는 봉어리였다. 팔리는 딸애와 팔고 있는 모송을 보며 사람들이 던지는 저주에도 땅바닥만 내려보던 그 여인은 그는 눈물도 없었다. 제 엄마가 죽을 병에 걸렸다고 고함치며 울음 터치며 딸애가 치마폭에 안길 때도 입술만 파르르 떨고 있던 그 여인은 그는 감사할 줄도 몰랐다. 당신 딸이 아니라 모성애를 산다며 한 군인이 100원을 쥐어주자 그 돈 들고 어디론가 뛰어가던 그 여인은 그는 어머니였다. 딸을 판 100원으로 밀가루빵 사들고 허둥지둥 달려와 이별하는 딸의 입술에 넣어주며 용서해라 통곡하던 그 여인은 우리 삶은 아침에 잠에서 깨어나면 먼저 흔들어 본다 숨소리 가냘픈 동생을 옆집 철이처럼 영원히 잡는 것만 같아서 어머니가 늦어지면 바람 소리에도 귀 기울이며 가슴 저이며 온밤 뜬 눈으로 나를 샌다 우물집 아줌마처럼 스스로 목숨을 끊으신 것만 같아서 우리 삶은 사는 것이 아니라 살아남는 것이어서.
Thank you. So these two poems, did you write them when you were in North Korea or when you left?
이 두 편은 그 북한에서 쓰신 시인가요? 아니면 그 한국에 도착한 다음에 쓰신 시입니까?
네, 그러니까 북한에서 그 약간 96년부터 99년 사이에 300만 명이 굶어 죽었어요. 그러니까 그때의 그 대량 아사 현장을 이건 작가의 양심으로서 그냥 지나칠 수가 없다. 해서 그때 썼던 그 시 메모장을 가지고 한국에 오게 됐습니다.
I wrote those poems while in North Korea during 96, 97, when during the Great Famine, in which about 3 million people died. I found that as a writer, my conscience would not allow me to just pass those scenes of mass starvation. So I wrote these two poems on small memos, and I took them out of the country. I still have them.
Yeah. So because you were a poet and you were a loved poet, and the leader, you were very popular with the leader. So what happened? Did witnessing the famine, did it change that you looked at the state and the leader?
원래 북한에 계셔서 뭐 시인이었는데 뭐 그 김종일이한테 그 많이 인정도 받으신 시인이 있었는데 그 김종일도 뭐 총권을 보시는 눈 어떻게 그 달라졌어요? 그 사람들이 뭐 많은 사람들이 뭐 굶어 죽는 모습을 보면서 뭐 김정일도 정권에 대한 생각을 바꾸게 된 계기가 되었습니까? 아니면
솔직히 이야기한다면 그때 대량 아사의 책임이 북한 안에 있다고 생각하지는 못했어요. 저도 처음에는 외부에 있다고 생각했죠. 뭐 미국이나 남한이나 이런 대북 적대 정책 때문에 우리가 굶어 죽는다. 또 정권이 그렇게 이야기를 했고요.
To be honest, at that moment in North Korea, I also thought that the reason for the big famine, in which so many people died, was not internal to North Korea. I also thought, like the government would tell us, that this was due to the anti-North Korea policy of America, of South Korea.
그때 당시 하도 이 굶주리는 나라다 나니까 북한 정권이 무슨 노래를 주민들에게 강요했냐면 장군님의 주먹밥. 그러니까 김정일이도 주먹밥을 먹는다는 거예요. 그러니까 지도자도 이렇게 한 줌을 먹는데 누구냐 배고픔을 투정하는 놈들이 이런 식으로 그 공포 정치를 했던 것이죠.
During the time of people dying everywhere of hunger, starving, there was this song that the North Korean leadership emphasized everywhere, and about the great leader living, lasting an entire day on one just ball of rice that fitted in his palm of his hands. Basically saying, it was basically intimidating people. Who are you to complain about not having food if even our great leader only eats just a small bowl of rice each day?
그래서 저도 김정일이가 주민들과 똑같이 굶는다고 생각했어요. 김정일이도 한 줌을 먹는다고 생각을 했죠. 근데 김정일을 그 접견했을 때, 아까 만났을 때 그 식사 파티를 보고서는 그게 가짜였구나. 뭐 너무 진수성찬이었고 디저트로 나오는 것은 불타는 아이스크림, 불 붙는 아이스크림, 그러니까 물과 불의 그 수화상국을 그렇게 아이스크림에 이렇게 해가지고 그 디저트 그것까지 먹는 거 보고 이거는 거짓이었구나 이때까지 그때 처음 그 생각을 했었습니다.
So I also thought that Kim Jong-il lived like most of us. So he also lived on that one, proverbial ball of rice. But then I was invited to meet him. I received an audience, and there was this banquet, and I realized that these things were quite different. One of the desserts that we had was ice cream, burning ice cream. So ice cream with engulfed in flames. It was to that level, luxurious and abundant. And that's the moment I realized that. So this has all been a lie. This is all a lie.
말이 나온 김에 제가 그 김정일을 만났던 이야기를 좀 그때 장면을 좀 이야기를 좀 할까 합니다.
Yeah. He's asked whether you're interested to hear about his meeting with Kim Jong-il.
Yes, please, because I read about an interview with you, and it's a wonderful story. So please do share it with the audience.
김정일을 그러니까 제가 북한에서 했던 일은 남한 작가, 그러니까 남한 시인 명의로 시나 서사시를 써서 북한 주민들에게 역선전하는 것이었어요. 다시 말한다면 남한 민심이 김정일을 찬양하는 것처럼 그렇게 조작해가지고 정권 차원에서 조작을 해가지고 주민들에게 신격화 선전을 하는 일이었습니다.
So what I used to do for a living in North Korea as a poet, working for United Front Departments, I would write poems extolling the virtues of our leader, Kim Jong-il, but assuming the identity of a South Korean writer. So I pretended to be a South Korean poet who praised the leader in his poems. Mm-hmm. So basically bringing the message to the North Korean people that even the South Koreans love Kim Jong-il.
북한은 이렇게 김정일, 김일성, 김씨일가 신격화에 남한 민심만 동원하는 것이 아니고 조작하는 것이 아니고 유럽 또 조작을 합니다. 그 제가 한 가지 사례를 들겠는데요.
And it's not just the South Korean sentiments that are basically abused in this way, or they don't really exist, to show that how much love there is and admiration there is for somebody like Kim Jong-il. I have an example that will show you that the same happened really to Europe. We also love Kim Jong-il. We're going to find out now.
Okay.
여러분 타이타닉이 언제 침몰된지 아십니까?
Does anyone of you know when the Titanic sank? The exact date? 1910? No? 12? Yes. The date, please. And no googling? No?
No googling.
모르니까.
네. 1912년까지 알고 있는데.
1912년 4월 15일입니다. 그런데 그날이 공교롭게도 김일성이가 태어난 날이에요.
The Titanic sank on the 15th of April 1912, which is also the day that Kim Il-sung was born.
그러니까 이 우연일치를 뭘로 비교해서 이야기했냐면 서양에선 태양이 침몰할 땐 동양에서 태양이 솟았다. 뭐 이런 식으로 조작을 해서 그걸 영국인이 그렇게 칼럼을 쓴 것처럼 해서 북한 노동신문 당보에 소개를 했었습니다.
So in the Noordong Shinmun, the main state newspaper, party newspaper, I should say, there is this article written by well, not really, but written by a British person who notices this coincidence, which according to him is not a coincidence, because the moment the sun set on the British Empire, because the Titanic, the symbol of progress, went down, at the same moment the sun rose in the east because Kim Il-sung was born. And this was not written by a North Korean, but by an Englishman.
저는 그 남한의 시인 명의로 그 김정일을 찬양하는 서사시를 썼고, 그래서 이것이 김정일 눈에 들어서 김정일이가 불러서 그래서 그 접견 장소로 가게 됐습니다.
So I wrote a similar poem, like, well, structurally speaking, a poem with the same kind of message, but then about this South Korean poet worshipping and praising Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-il got to hear about it, he liked it, and he invited me to one of his palaces.
그때 저와 그리고 북한 그 통전부 저희 그 부서 간부들 이렇게 9명에서 갔었는데, 처음에 차 출발할 때는 앞에 옆에 커튼 다 막고 평양시를 뺑뺑 돌아요. 그러니까 이 길 혼동감을 잃게 하도록 하기 위해서 그렇게 한 시간 동안을 그렇게 차로 계속 돌았습니다. 그리고 도착한 것이 어디였냐면 용성역이라고, 북한에는 김일성, 김씨 일가만 이용하는 1호 역전이 따로 있어요. 그리고 김일성 일가만 다니는 1호 고속도로가 따로 있습니다. 그러니까 그 1호 역전에 도착했던 겁니다.
So I was picked up together with other high officials of the department I worked at, the United Front Department. We were put in cars, blindfolded, and taken around Pyongyang for 1 hour. We had no idea where we were going. We were just going from place to place. And finally we arrived at Yongseong-yok, Yongseong Station, which is a number 1 station, where the number 1 train arrives, which means everything that has the epithet of number 1 means it's only for the use of the leader and his family, the Kims, the house of Kim, really.
Yeah.
So it's exclusively reserved for them.
Yeah.
그 영성역에서 기차를 타고 강원도 원산으로 또 이동을 했습니다. 역시 커튼을 다 닫힌 그런 열차였습니다.
So we boarded the train and we went to the northeast to Wonsan, coastal city, where Trump likes the real estate, apparently, he said, in a train with the curtains closed.
Okay.
그 역에서 김정일 초대소가 갈마 초대소라고 그 섬이었는데 거기까지 또 오래정을 타고 들어갔어요. 그런데 그 경호 군인들이 그 1인당 이렇게 뒤에서 벨트 역할을 하는 거죠. 이 개폐가 배 파도에 휩쓸리지 말라고. 그렇게 해서 갈마 초대소로 들어가게 됐습니다.
From there we went to a resort on an island, Kalmacho, by boat. But the waves were quite choppy, and there were bodyguards, military army bodyguards behind each of us, and they would hold us like this. They basically functioned as safety belts to make sure that we wouldn't be swept away by waves, or that nothing would happen, or that we couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. We went to the island like that.
그래서 김정일 만나기 전에 대기실에서 요만한 이렇게 봉투 하나씩 줘요. 그러니까 뜯어보니까 알코올면입니다. 그러니까 김정일이가 이제 악수하기 때문에 손을 다 소독하는 차원에서 이걸로 닦아라 이렇게 지시를 했습니다.
So we entered the palace really. We were waiting. We were led to a waiting room where we each received a small kind of envelope. When we opened it, there was a handkerchief drenched in alcohol in it, so we could completely disinfect our hands because we were going to shake the hand of Kim Jong-il, and you don't shake his hand if your hands are dirty. So your hands had to be disinfected.
그리고 그 시계, 그러니까 이런 금속은 무기가 될 수 있기 때문에 흉기가 될 수 있기 때문에 이것은 회수하면서 이제 김정일을 볼 때 두 눈을 보지 말고 김정일이 이 두 번째 단추를 보라. 그러니까 시선을 좀 아래로 해라. 이렇게.
We had to take off our watches because you can, hurt him or wound him with a watch. It can become a weapon. And we were told to, in his presence, not to look him in the eyes, but focus on the second button of his shirt. Basically, we were told to lower our eyes in his presence.
그렇게 해서 기다리는데 장군님께서 나오십니다. 그래서 우리는 일어서서 다 만세를 불렀어요. 그런데 이렇게 강아지가 먼저 막 뛰어들어오고 김정일이는 그 강아지 쫓아서 들어오더라고요.
So we went to the hall where he would appear, and then somebody announced him, the general is coming. So we all stood up and we started shouting "Manse" or "Long live the general." But before he entered the room, this small dog ran in, a puppy.
김정일이가 그 뒤에 있는 그 위대한 용도자 김정일 동지를 목숨으로 사수하자 이런 구호가 있습니다. 근데 그쪽으로 오더니 그걸 가만히 봐요. 그러더니 이게 수혜실이냐, 손수혜냐, 아니면 에나멜이냐 이렇게 물어봅니다. 하니까 간부가 이거 손수혜다. 하니까 그럼 에나멜보다 보기 좋은데 왜 이걸로 안 했냐? 다른 데는. 그러니까 이게 수입산이기 때문에 비싸서 그런다. 하니까 전국적으로 이걸로 다 바꿔. 이렇게 이야기를 하는 거 봐서 저는 그때 주민들이 굶주리는 상황이었기 때문에 저 돈이면 쌀을 사오겠는데 이런 생각을 해보았습니다.
So in the end, Kim Jong-il entered, and he was looking at this banner, a slogan which said, "We will protect the life of our dear leader with our lives." And he looked at it for a while, was silent. And he said, "Well, how was this made? Was this made by hand, or was this imported from abroad and it's more expensive?" And they said, "Well, this is made by hand." He didn't like it, so he wanted to, in the entire country, it needed to be changed for the more expensive version, which had to be imported from abroad because it was so expensive. And don't forget, this is during the famine. Nobody had to eat. There was no money.
Yeah.
저는 그때 김정일 만나는 장소에서 가장 기이했던 것이 두 가지가 있었습니다.
So when I met Kim Jong-il, there were two really strange things.
첫 번째는 키높이 구두였어요. 그 와인을 이렇게 부어주는데 거기에 가서 이렇게 허리 숙이면서 보니까 구두가 밖으로 거의 힐 수준이었죠. 한 20cm 정도. 그래서 그러지 않아도 나라에서 제일 높은 어른인데 왜 저 위에 올라와야 될까 이런 생각을 해보았습니다.
The first thing was the fact that I'm not sure what this is in English or in Dutch, to be honest. It's the thing you put beneath your shoes to make yourself look taller.
The soles.
No, this is a bit more than soles. Yeah, but basically it's the soles.
So to look taller.
Yeah. So when he approached to receive his glass of wine, you look downward, you can't look him in the eyes, and he noticed that his shoes were 20 centimeters higher than they should have been.
Oh, plateau shoes.
That's the word I was looking for, plateau shoe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he remembers thinking, well, this is the most important, the highest person in the country. Why on earth does he need to be 20 centimeters taller than he actually is?
Yeah.
두 번째는 김정일이가 우는 것을 보고 굉장히 당황했습니다.
And the second thing is the way Kim Jong-il left was extremely embarrassing.
그 러시아 그 파티 장소에서 러시아 민요 그 가수들이 나서 러시아 민요를 부르는데 전혀 슬프지 않은 노래예요. 근데 그걸 보고 김정일이가 손수건을 꺼내서 이렇게 눈물 닦는 겁니다.
Sorry, I mistranslated that. No, it's not the way he laughed, the way he cried. Which to my own defense, it's the same pronunciation.
Okay.
So the thing
We'll
that was
forgive
most
you.
embarrassing is the way he cried. The party was starting,
Yeah.
and they were playing Russian folk songs, which weren't sad at all, and he started to cry, and he was using a handkerchief to dry his
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
저를 더 당황하게 했던 것은 그 간부들이 김정일이가 손수건을 꺼내니까 막 어린애처럼 왕왕왕 우는 거예요.
And to my surprise, all the high officials took out their handkerchiefs, and they started to cry with him.
저도 울어야 했습니다. 왜냐하면 안 그러면 나도 뭐 이렇게 될 것 같아가지고 좀 무서워서 저도 눈물을 흘렸습니다.
So, and I realized I had to cry as well, because otherwise it's my head. And so I was so afraid I actually started crying.
Ah.
저는 그때 김정일이 눈물을 보면서 무슨 생각이 들었냐면 눈물은 흘릴 줄도 알아야 하지만 참을 줄도 알아야 되는 거거든요. 근데 이런 눈물의 감정은 실현당해 본 사람, 행복을 원하는 사람, 뭐 여러 인생을 살면서 축적된 그런 감정의 결과인데 김정일이는 태어날 때부터 왕의 아들이었기 때문에 이런 인간적인 고뇌, 행복, 미련 이런 것들이 없었기 때문에 그 눈물을 통해서 자기가 인간이라는 것을 확인하고 싶었던 것 같다. 그런 생각이 들었습니다.
So what I was thinking when I saw him crying, I realized that usually when you know, there are times to cry, there are times to not to cry, to just suck it up. And I realized in general you cry because something has happened, you hurt, or something terrible has happened, or you've lost somebody. And Kim Jong-il, being the person he is, he was born as the son of the great leader. He never experienced many of those things that make us cry. He was probably never dumped, and who's going to dump him, right? True happiness, crying out of true happiness. Would he have known that? I don't know. He doesn't know. So all those things that make you human, the suffering that makes one cry, that build up during a lifetime, and that give rise to tears that make you cry. He didn't have that. So the thought that I was having is what I was thinking at that moment was, he is crying because he wants to make sure he is actually a human being like we are. So he's trying to be a human here by crying.
Yeah. Please tell him that he's a wonderful storyteller, but I'm also bound by the time. So I don't want to be rude, and I would love to sit here for hours and listen to this story, but let's try to, because there's still many subjects that we would like to talk about. So the sort of godlike figure pretended to be human. That's the experience that he had when he met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
지금 하신 얘기 너무 좋지만은 시간이 잡아서 좀 결말을 지을 수 있을까요? 지금 이해 제대로 했다면은 거의 신 같은 존재는 인간성을 확인하려고 눈물이 난다. 인간처럼 눈물 난다고 그거 맞아요?
네,
그렇게 한다면?
일종의 그 기형이죠, 기형. 그러니까 남을 인간으로 취급하지 않는 남의 인간성까지 짓밟으면서 자기 권력을 채우겠다는 그런 독재의 야욕이 결국 자기 자신부터 인간 기형으로 만드는 것이죠. 기형.
기형.
변형, 좀비처럼 이렇게. 그런 거.
나머지는 까먹었어요. 죄송해요.
그러니까
I asked him something, I forgot what he said.
Yeah.
남의 인간성을, 그러니까 주민들의 인간성을 무시하고 그 인간성을 빼앗아서 그것까지 독점하겠다는 그런 권력, 야욕, 독재가 결국은 자기 자신부터 그렇게 좀비로 인간 좀비로 만든다.
네.
그것을
인간 좀비?
인간
네.
변형,
네.
약간
네.
비인간으로
네.
만든다.
This is somebody who has always ignored the humanity of others, and he was trying to steal the humanity of take their humanity for himself, and this is what this dictatorship is. It changed him or changes other people into almost like zombies, like misshaped people, pretending they're human, but really they aren't because they don't even recognize the humanity of others. They can't.
Yeah.
That's what he saw there.
Yeah, and I read that he gave you a Rolex as a gift in the midst of the famine.
그때 그 롤렉스 그 시계도 받았.
롤렉스. 저는 그게 비싼 시계인 줄은 몰랐었어요. 근데 한국에 와서 보니까 그게 비싼 시계인 줄 알고 아 주긴 줬구나 이런 생각을 했던 거죠.
No, that's right. He had no idea that actually was an expensive watch. He thought, oh, it's a watch, great. And only when he arrived in South Korea, he found out that, so actually he did give me a nice gift. No idea.
You were a rich man. You arrived in South Korea a rich man.
뭐 시간이 없다니까 뭘 결론적으로 이야기할까요? 네. 저는
The conclusion is coming now.
네. 시간이 없다니까 제가 북한 체제에 대해서 이야기한다면 우리가 북한이라고 하면 정치범 수용소, 공개 처형 이것만을 생각합니다. 그런데 북한은 양대 독재가 있어요. 그 권력 독재만 있다면 이 전론발이 정권이죠. 이게 3대 세수까지 못 갑니다. 이 3대 세수까지 가도록 지탱하는 것이 바로 또 다른 다리가 독재의 다리가 뭐냐면 감성 독재입니다.
So if we think about North Korea, of course we see the concentration camps, the public execution, terrible things like that. But that's not the whole story. Had in fact the North Korean regime only leaned on the physical repression, there's no way it could have lasted for the 3 generations it has already lasted. Mm-hmm. It needs another leg to stand on. It needs 2 legs to stand on. The one leg is physical repression. The other one is mental or psychological repression. Yeah. The mental dictatorship we were basically discussing now.
Yeah, but so how did you escape the mental dictatorship?
감성 독재를 어떻게 벗어났습니까?
제가 벗어날 수 있었던 것은 제가 그 통전부에 다니면서 통전부 직원들에 한해서는 그 남한 작가 명의로 글을 써야 되기 때문에 북한 2천만 중에서 150명에게만은 남한 서적을 허용을 합니다. 근데 저는 그 남한 서적을 보면서 이 동전이 양면처럼 비교가 되더라고요. 똑같은 민족인데 하나는 선진국이고 하나는 후진국이고 이런 차이를 느끼다 나니까 조금 북한 정권에 대해서 이렇게 그 이면을 보게 됐습니다.
This is when he was working as a poet who was pretending to be a South Korean poet at the United Front Department. In order to be successful in his pretending to be a South Korean poet, he needed to read South Korean novels and other South Korean writings. Yeah. And while he was reading, and he was one of the 150 people in the country who had special permission to do so.
150
Yeah,
only.
because if you would, normal people would do that, they'd be dead.
Okay.
If he would take out the book, take it home, he'd also be dead. So it's anyway. While he was reading it, he was realizing that there's something amiss here. This is the same people, the same nation. 50 years ago, we were the same people, and yet we are here in this horrible mess. We are a underdeveloped country, and there's South Korea, a high developed country. Yeah. So while he had access to those writings, he realized that there was another side to the North Korean regime.
Yeah, and so you fled the country, and you went to South Korea. And how did you find South Korea? What was the very first impression that you had arriving there?
그런다고 말하면 탈북하셨죠. 북한을 떠나고 한국에 가셨는데 한국에 도착하셨을 때
어떤 인상을 받았어요? 한국이라는 나라에 대해서 어떻게 생각하셨어요? 도착하셨을 때?
저는 너무 와보고 싶었던 자유 세계였기 때문에 아파트에 짐을 풀기 바쁘게 서울거리를 새벽 3시까지 방황을 했었어요. 제가
예.
새벽 3시까지
예.
서울거리를 방황하면서 정말 사람들이 스치는 말 한마디, 행동 하나하나가 저에겐 너무 감동이어서 그렇게 가고 있는데 갑자기 뒤에서 택시기사 아저씨가 꽥 소리를 질러요. 눈 감고 다녀 이 바보야 그러는 거예요. 그런데 저는 그때 웃었습니다. 왜냐하면 나도 이젠 자유세계에 당당한 바보가 됐구나 하는 생각에 뭐라고 할까, 저는 한국의 도로가 차가 많고 뭐 이거 아파트 그러니까 불빛이 뭐 화려하고 이것보다도 사람들이 그 자유로움, 억제받지 않는 그런 언행들, 그것에 더 큰 감동을 받았습니다.
Well, he had arrived in the country he had desperately longed to go to, so he was there. And the first night he was able to go out by himself. He just wandered the streets for 3 hours, just marveling at everything around him. And all of a sudden there was the car behind him honking. Mm-hmm. And calling out to him, "Hey asshole, get out of the way." Mm-hmm. And he remembers thinking, "Oh great, so I can be an asshole too. People can call me an asshole in this country where everybody's free." Yeah. So he was just, this was all of a sudden possible. And he realized, and he said that he was a bit impressed perhaps by the many cars and the good roads and the high-rise buildings and light and electricity everywhere. Mm-hmm. But that is not in the end what impressed him. What impressed him was the fact that people were free. It showed, and they could do whatever they wanted to do, and they didn't receive any kind of, they weren't under any kind of control. Yeah. Like he had been at home.
And did you feel a kinship to the South Koreans? Did it feel like you were among your own people?
한국에 가셨을 때 한국 사람들은 뭐 같은 민족, 같은 교대처럼 느꼈어요? 아니면
한국에는 그 탈북자에 대한 차별이 조금 있어요. 근데 아마 탈북민뿐만이 아니라 이 유럽에 온 난민들도 그런 차별감을 스스로 많이 느낄 것이라고 보거든요. 그런데 저는 이렇게 생각합니다. 차별은 남의 것이 아니라 자기 질병이다. 자기 스스로가 그 차별에서 벗어나야지 그 남은 자유세계에 정착할 수 있는 그런 기초가 될 수 있고 출발이 될 수 있다. 이렇게 생각합니다.
Well, in fact, South Koreans, there is discrimination against North Koreans in South Korea. They're not treated very well. It's probably similar to what happens to refugees in Europe. So there is discrimination, but I realized that if I wanted to get out of this, I had to make the discrimination into something that was mine to overcome, in order for me to settle in this free world. So I made the discrimination mine, made it my problem, and overcame it.
Yeah, but how do you overcome the discrimination then?
자별은 어떻게 극복합니까?
저 같은 케이스는 조금 좀 틀렸죠. 그러니까 한국 정부에서, 그러니까 제가 북한에서 그 통전부에 근무를 했었기 때문에 저에게 뭐 첫 출근할 수 있는 좋은 직장을 주었고 집도 주었고 그래서 솔직히 저는 개인적으로는 그렇게 처음에는 차별을 못 느꼈어요. 그런데 살아가면서 다른 탈북민들을 보니까 또 그들과 연관된 사람들을 이렇게 보니까 차별이라는 것은 엄연히 존재하는구나. 그래서 저는 그것을 극복하는 방법은 저 개인이 노력에 달려 있다고 봐요. 그리고 가장 중요한 것은 이 탈북자들이 남한 사회에서 정착에 실패하는 것은 이 종소의 실패거든요. 종소적으로 안착이 되지 못했기 때문에 그 나머지 기타 경제 생활에서도 실패를 하는 겁니다. 그러니까 그런 정소위 정착이 우선적으로 그것에 제 자신도 또 그렇게 노력을 했고요.
To be honest, I was lucky, or he was lucky in the sense that because of his previous work in North Korea, at the highest level of government, he was immediately given a very good job and the house and everything. So for him it was easier to overcome this. But if, while looking, and this is something I realized while looking at other North Koreans who have trouble settling in, if they, and they are being discriminated against, but what you notice is that the one thing that makes a difference, and that he also had to adjust to, is that if you don't settle emotionally in South Korea, if you don't form an emotional bond with South Korean society and your environment, no matter what you do, you will probably fail at it. Also economically, in terms of getting a job and holding a job and building a life. And that's the one thing he sees, well, as the main reason for failure among North Koreans settling in South Korea. The impossibility for some of also settling emotionally. Regarding, so this is not something he said, but me interpreting, regarding South Korea as your home.
Yeah, because it never is yours.
Well, there's that. It may not ever be.
Yeah. Are there any urgent questions because I still want to talk about, the rapprochement between North and South Korea, but if there are people who have a, burning desire to ask a question, please, fingers. And in the meantime, whilst you gather courage, I will ask them about the relationship, the current, relationship between South Korea and North Korea, and, making a bit of, flirting and trying to make amends. And this is a question for both of you, what you think of that. And in the meantime, please do feel free to show me your finger.
지금 한국과 북한 관계 요즘 많이 관계가 많이 좋아진 것 같은데요. 많이 친해졌고 트럼프 대통령은 김정은이 보고 사랑에 빠졌다는 얘기 같이 했는데 그거 일반적으로 어떻게 보시는 겁니까?
북한이 비핵화를 할 것이다라고 하는데 잘못 알고 있는 겁니다. 북한은 일반 국가가 아니에요. 그러니까 국민이 이익을 위해서 국가 외교를 하고 국가 안보를 하는 나라가 아니라 김씨 이기주의 정권이기 때문에 오로지 수령주의 이익을 위해서 수령주의 외교를 하고 수령주의 안보를 하는. 그래서 북한의 이 핵 개념도 국가의 핵이 아니라 바로 그런 수령주의 핵이에요. 근데 세계가 지금 북한 정권의 이 본질을 잘못 이해하고 있기 때문에 핵을 폐기할 것이다. 좋은 방향으로 나갈 것이다. 이런 희망을 갖고 있는 겁니다.
The thing we get consistently wrong about North Korea is that it is not a state that exerts any kind of effort, whether diplomatic or security-wise or otherwise, to better the lives of its citizens. It does so because the only thing it does, its efforts are aimed at protecting its leadership in the elite, the supreme leader. So the state is there to serve the leader and not the other way around, and not there to serve the people. So the nukes that Trump is so sure of that he's going to negotiate them away, they are not there to protect the country. They are there to protect the leadership, which means that the logic that would normally, I guess, be expected from a state that is in a situation as this does not apply, because this is not about the well-being of the people. This is about staying in power for the leader and the people around him.
Yeah. Questions, Tom? Yeah. There is a. Okay. And please keep them short.
Oh, sorry, I'm just curious with the sort of assassination of a North Korean official in Malaysia recently, like sort of having such a public profile as a defector, have you felt safe, or has the North Korean state tried to exert influence on you kind of since you left?
김정남이 암살 사건 있잖아요. 그 암살 사건 때문에 그 질문을 하게 된 건데, 그 지금 그 북한 정권에 대해서 비판적으로 보시는데, 그건 그 북한에서 그 장 대표님을 해치는 그런 시도가 있었나요? 좀 안전하게 편하게 살 수 있나요? 이렇게
그 북한 정권이 그러니까 정권 차원에서 공개적으로 저를 테러하겠다고 이렇게 정권 차원에서 성명을 발표를 했었습니다. 그래서 한국에서 저는 현재 24시간 그 경호를 계속 받고 있습니다.
Now, the North Korean state has officially announced several times that it would kill me. So in South Korea, I'm always 24 hours a day under the protection of bodyguards. So yes, there is a reason to be very cautious.
Tom, over there. There's a young.
There was a quote Remco used in his last book from Jang Jin-sung, saying that North Korea could be compared to some kind of play from a theater, where Kim Jong-un might be the main character, but he doesn't necessarily write the script. That Kim Jong-un is not like the true leader. And my question would be, how can you compare Kim Jong-un's leadership to Kim Jong-il's leadership?
Sorry, how can you compare?
Kim Jong-un's leadership to, or his leadership power, or to Kim Jong-il's leadership power?
Oh,
Okay. So 지금 북한은 용기 있고 그렇게 예전에 얘기하셨잖아요. 김정은은 주인공이긴 하지만은 각본 쓴 사람 아니다. 감독하는 사람도 아니다. 그렇게 주장하셨는데 그렇다면 김정은이 북한을 혼자서 다스리는 사람 아니라면 그 시상은 어떠냐 물어봤거든요. 또는 김정일이와 김정은이 정권 비교할 때 그 어떻게 다르냐는 그런 질문이었습니다.
김일성이가 김정일에게 세습했다. 이게 보통 상식인데 사실은 김정일이가 아버지 김일성의 권력을 빼앗았습니다. 그러니까 지금의 북한 시스템을 원하면 저는 김정일을 이렇게 이야기하고 싶어요. 김정일은 자수성가용 독재자다. 김정일이가 물리적 독재, 감성 독재 시스템을 다 구축했습니다. 김정은이는 그 위에 씌워져 있는 거거든요. 여기까지.
We understand the situation in North Korea usually as follows. Kim Il-sung was succeeded by his son Kim Jong-il, so grandfather and the father. This is not what happened, in fact. What happened, in fact, is that Kim Jong-il took away power from Kim Il-sung, even while he was still alive. And he is the one who created North Korea as it is today. So he's the creator of both the physical and the mental dictatorship that are there. Not that there was nothing to work with. So he is the one who outfitted North Korea as it is today, and Kim Jong-un is basically somebody who was flown in and dropped in. He was helicoptered in, choppered in, is that the right expression? So that is the difference.
okay.
그러니까 한마디로 이야기한다면 김정일 때는 김정일의 시스템이었어요. 지금은 시스템의 수령인 겁니다. 시스템의 김정은인 겁니다.
So during Kim Jong-il, this is the best way to probably say it. During Kim Jong-il, the system was Kim Jong-il's system. Now the system has become its own, and the system, the leader is part of the system. So it's not Kim Jong-un's system, but the system is Kim Jong-un. No, this is confusing. So during Kim Jong-il, the system was Kim Jong-il's system, but now it's the system's Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
But that's the difference.
Yeah. One final question? I'm sure there'll be opportunities after we finish.
Ik vraag het even in het Nederlands aan Remco. In je boek heb je geschreven dat de toeristen die eventjes ruiken aan het Noord-Korea-regime en het programma wat ze aangeboden krijgen, dat van weinig invloed is en misschien ook een verkeerde indruk maakt door het programma wat je aangeboden krijgt. Wat denk je van al die contacten die er zijn tussen al die toeristen en de gidsen die zij meekrijgen? Denk je, waar er soms ook weer persoonlijke gesprekken zijn, denk je dat dat enige invloed kan hebben? Want er zijn heel veel toeristen, soms mensen alleen, die 2 gidsen bij zich hebben, die een week of langer met elkaar optrekken. Wat heeft dat voor een invloed, denk je? Kan dat enige invloed hebben?
Dus vraag aan mij.
Ja.
Ja, ik denk als het enige invloed zou hebben gehad, dan hadden we al verandering gehad. Hoeveel toeristen zijn er wel niet in Noord-Korea geweest? Hoeveel Noord-Koreanen zijn er al niet in het buitenland geweest? Er zijn er, as we speak, zijn er 150.000 ongeveer in het buitenland die werken voor de staat. Toen ik daar kritisch over schreef, was het eerste verwijt dat ik kreeg, en het is terecht, en het is een goede discussie, ik ben het niet mee eens, van nee, je bent veel te negatief. Dit zijn mensen die snuiven hoe het is in het buitenland. Ze gaan terug, verdienen geld en ze gaan de boel veranderen. En dit is het argument dat ik steeds herhaald zie worden, maar de Noord-Koreaanse samenleving of het systeem blijkt goed ingeënt te zijn tegen dit soort buitenlandse virussen. Kun je persoonlijk contact hebben met je gids in Noord-Korea? Natuurlijk. Dat geloof ik zonder meer. Het zijn mensen. En ze zijn niet zo anders dan jij en ik. Zijn die contacten opgewassen tegen dit systeem? Gaan die verandering brengen? Ik denk het niet. Ik hoop dat ik ontzettend ongelijk heb. Maar ik heb het nog steeds niet zien gebeuren. En hoeveel mensen moeten er nog gaan? Moet de hele wereld op een visite gaan voordat dat gebeurt? Daar lijkt het wel een beetje op, want er is nog steeds helemaal niks veranderd. Dus ik ben er sceptisch over.
So just a quick recap in English.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay for those who don't speak
Yeah.
English. The question was whether the tourists who visit North Korea and get in touch with local guides and local people, and if that could be of any help or any influence. And Remco is very skeptical because he said there have been so many tourists who've gone there. There has been so much people have been in touch with people over there. So it hasn't changed anything.
No,
so
well,
what
actually,
do we?
I probably have to withdraw some of my words. It does change things.
It does.
No,
Okay.
it does. Yeah.
Okay.
It
so
changes our perception.
within
of
a
North
minute,
Korea.
he has changed his opinion. Okay,
I
go
always
ahead.
do this. No, it's the other way around. I think it works wonders for North Korea.
For North
It
Korea.
changes our perception of North Korea.
Okay.
Because we tend to equate
yeah.
the people we meet,
Yeah.
who are probably very nice people,
Yeah.
and I'm not being cynical, with the system. And
So
that's
it's sort of propaganda for the state.
yeah, and it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're going to end, but I just want to have one final question for both of us, and both of you, and I would like both of you to answer the question. Is you both are very skeptical with regards to the rapprochement between North and South and Trump's love for Kim Jong-un. You both said that our logic here does not apply to North Korea. So what does work? What can the world do? What can leaders do? What can people do to actually force some sort of change in North Korea? And I would like both of you to answer that.
장 대표님하고 저도 사실 그러는데 지금 북한 남한 저어치는 관계 저어치는 것을 보니까 지내치는 것을 보니까 모두 다 회의적이죠. 이거 좋은 걸로 그렇지 않은 거라고 생각하신 것 같은데 저도 생각했지만은 근데 그거 안 된다면은 좋은 걸로 끝날 수 없다면은 어떻게 하면은 북한 주민 상황을 조금 더 좋아질 수 있을까요? 북한 상황을 개선시킬 수 있는 방법이 있다면은 뭘까요?
저는 우선 북한을 정권과 주민을 분리시켜야 된다고 봅니다. 자꾸 북한이라고 하면 북한 주민까지 통틀어 가지고 그렇게 생각을 하는데 이 정권은 주민을 전혀 주민의 삶의 질이라든가 그들의 운명에 대해서는 전혀 상관없는 그런 이기적인 정권이기 때문에 이런 정권과 주민을 분리시켜서 보는 그래서 유럽의 대북 정책도 분리적 교류라고 하는데 아니 비판적 교류라고 하는데 독재를 비판하되 교류를 해야 된다. 이것도 분리적 교류로 가야 됩니다. 정권과 주민을 분리하는. 그래서 그런 노력들이 약간 해외 세계가 먼저 변해야지 북한이 변한다. 저는 이렇게 이야기하고 싶습니다.
Yeah, what he says.
What he says, cool.
No, what he says is, when we talk about North Korea, we do not distinguish between the state and the people, and really we're not talking about the people because just like North Korea, we're leaving them out of the picture. And that's not what we should be doing. We should separate the two. So when you talk about North Korea, you talk about the North Koreans, the people, and the state is separate to that, because this is a state that has time and time again shown that it does not give a damn about its citizens. It's a very self-centered, egoistical kind of leadership.
Yeah.
Take them apart. Treat them as separate entities. Leave the state, because we can't do anything about that. What are we going to do, invade? He didn't say that, that's me. But that's not going to work. I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
But the way things are going now, we're just focusing on the state.
Yeah.
And we should focus on the people. The European Union still has in place a policy called critical engagement. So we're critical towards the dictatorship and towards nuclear weapons acquisition and all kinds of nasty stuff going on in North Korea, but we engage. He says what we need is separative engagement.
Yeah.
We separate the state from the people, we engage with the people, and empower them. And that's something we should do.
But how do we, how do you empower people? You have no access to them? They
Of
have
course,
no access?
no, that's not, we do have
how?
access.
How?
Well, what I have proposed many times,
Yeah.
and whenever I propose this to a diplomat, they look at me like, oh my God, crazy academic with an
Yeah.
idea. But it might actually work. We need money, and I understand that diplomats can't ignore the state and deal with the people. That it just doesn't work that way, I'm told. I don't know why, but that's reality.
Yeah.
So what we should do is, I don't know, take 100 million euros and put it in a fund, give it to NGOs, send them to China, invest in the people that cross the border each day or each month to buy stuff in China. Give them microcredits. Do not expect that they will ever pay it back. $100 per person. It's enough to keep you going for a year with your family, which means that everything you earn, you can reinvest in your business. This means that the black markets that the state relies upon, because they don't have a public distribution system anymore, will grow, and these people will find more ways to become independent from the state than before. You're slowly empowering them. Now, is this going to be if we do this next year, things are okay? No. This may take 20 years. But I don't see any alternatives. Really, I don't see any alternatives. And I don't think neither does he. But I think the most important lesson from this is, first, let's trust North Korean refugees to deal with the country as they see fit. It's their country, it's not ours. Just let's empower them, give money to the things they think that might work. And this is one of the things I think we should do.
Yeah.
Another thing I think we should do, and he didn't mention this, but we do agree on this. We should stop pretending like Kim Jong-un is just a huggable teddy bear.
Yeah.
And I'm not referring to him personally because I don't know him, but he stands for a system that is one of the most inhumane systems that we probably have seen on this earth.
Yeah.
And we treat him like a bloody rock star.
Yeah.
So we are, in that sense, complicit to what's going on in North Korea. Yeah. And also, now you got me going, so I'm not going to stop very easily. One more minute.
Yeah.
The other way we are complicit in what's happening, because we buy stuff that is made by North Korean slave labor, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to take off your clothes to see whether inside your clothes there's this label that says made in China. If it is, chances are that it's not made in China, but really it was only assembled in China, everything was made in North Korea. Same with ships we use in the Netherlands, built by North Korean slave labor. And the list goes on and on and on. It's, in a way, last year was a bit, we all came close to nuclear war. But apart from that, it's bloody convenient to have a country like North Korea. We can all hate it, we can all be fascinated, be tourists, marvel at how everything is different. Oh, these people are really strange, but what fun we have. At the same time, we fund their nuclear weapons program by buying ships they make and by wearing the clothes they make. under the worst possible conditions.
So there, yeah.
So I think it's time. This is not about North Korea only. This is also about us. We are not as complicit as Kim Jong-un. That would be ludicrous to say. But if we don't realize that we are complicit in this, nothing is ever going to change.
No, that's very clear, and you've offered us two very concrete steps that we can take: help the North Koreans, microcredits and stuff, and stop funding the forced labor slavery and stop funding the state. I think these are very wise words to end this evening on. Before I thank my guests and your guests, I just want to tell you that we will have other interesting evenings here at the library. Friday the 9th of November, the wonderful Arnon Grunberg will be talking to Abdelkader Benali about his new book. We have on Friday the 16th, so that's 1 week later, Dancing Bears, Polish writer Witold Slablowski on nostalgia for communism. And then on the 28th of November, Indian parents, stories behind the silence, Reggie Bai and Adriaan van Dis, yay. And the 14th of December, Hannah Barefoots and Martijntje Smits will be talking about a monster book. This has been, I always say that it's very interesting and I could talk for hours and hours to my guests, but really I could have talked for hours and hours. It was amazing to hear stories from within. It was a privilege to hear these stories from within, from you. So I want to say, kamsahamnida. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Remco. This has been a wonderfully and fascinating evening. And thank you to the audience as well. Thank you very much.